top 5 after-school snacks for Gen Xers next on Retro Cereal. Hey everyone, welcome to Retro Cereal. I'm your host, DNC. I'm glad you could be joining me for this episode of Top 5 After-School Snacks for Generation X. But before we get to that, there's a couple things I need to lay some foundations, some groundwork for this whole video. And even before we get to that, the first thing I want to do is I want to thank my friend Pat McCormick over on Golden Rage of TV. He sent me this t-shirt. And a shout out to him. As you can see here, it says the Golden Rage of TV, Retro TV, and Trivia. And let me just encourage you to go over to his channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to his channel. He's got some great content. If you love all things Golden Age television and you love rock music, well, he's got the perfect combination of that over on his channel. And before we get to this video, let me also remind you and ask you to please subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification if you want to be notified, hit the like button. If you don't like this video, hit the thumbs down button twice. That'll really let me know that you didn't like this video. And share it on your favorite social media. Would truly mean a lot to me if you did those things. And as always, if you want to go that one extra step, you're always welcome to follow the link in the description box below to the Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate some of your hard-earned funds. Now let's talk a little bit about after-school snacks for Generation X. So before we get to our video, there are some foundational ideas that I need to talk about before we get to our list. So let me go off the script a little bit. Now, as you can probably guess by watching my videos, that I don't really use a script. I speak off the cuff, but that's going to be extremely true in this case. So forgive me for the uhs and the pauses and my searching for words and things like that. But I needed to lay some foundation before I get into the top 5 after-school snacks for Generation Xers. I'm going to be real personal here. I'm going to be really idiosyncratic in my choices. And the reason why is I can only ultimately speak for myself. I'm not just going to draw upon myself, though. I'm going to draw upon conversations I've had with other Gen Xers and also my growing up years and talking to my friends and the kind of snacks that they ate after school. Now, I just remember coming home from school every day wanting something to eat. And I don't know if you were like that. I'm going to guess you were. Most people that I've ever talked to, when they got home from school, they ate. They ate something. They had something. Another thing that's unique to me is I was a single child in a single parent home for the most part, not always, but for the most part, it was a single parent home. And so if you had, a 2-parent home and you had a mother who was always in the kitchen or something like that, maybe some of these things wouldn't necessarily wouldn't fit your lifestyle. And if you had like a big family, like, you had 4 or 5 brothers and sisters or something like that, well, maybe this wouldn't fit your family either. Me, as a single child, I was kind of able to eat what I wanted and didn't have to compete with brothers and sisters over the food. So, this might fit you, this might not fit you, whatever. So, again, I am just going to be very unique in this. And if there's a family tradition that you had for after-school snacks, you let me know in the comments section below. So with all of that said, here is my totally idiosyncratic top 5 snacks that I loved to eat when I got home from school. Starting in the number 5 position is cereal. Of course, retro cereal for dinner. You knew cereal was going to be on the list somehow. I would get home from school, and one of the things that I would go to quite frequently was cereal. Now, My favorite kind of cereals back then, I have to say, were cereals like Captain Crunch, Fruit Loops, and Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Cinnamon Toast Crunch probably edging out to be my favorite. I also loved Captain Crunch. I loved the peanut butter Captain Crunch especially. And I did like Fruit Loops, but Fruit Loops would beat my mouth up. I felt the scrapes on the top of my mouth whenever I would eat those things. However, those weren't always all the cereals that we had. My grandmother every once in a while would try to get King Vitamin. Does anybody else remember King Vitamin? What a horrid ripoff of Captain Crunch that was. Didn't taste very good to me at all. I had a sweet tooth then. I have a sweet tooth now. It's gotten me in lots of trouble, this sweet tooth of mine. Lots of health problems as a result. But I do have to say that my favorite cereals back then were the ones that were already sugared. Every once in a while you'd get some corn flakes, but I'd have to heavily sugar them. If you had corn flakes, would you heavily sugar them? What were some of your favorite cereals? You let me know in the comment section below. That's my number 5 position for after school snacks. Coming in at the number 4 position is sandwiches. Now, as a kid, I didn't have a lot of culinary skills, but man, who couldn't make a sandwich, right? Who couldn't make a sandwich? And for me, it was all time dependent. It was seriously time dependent. So every once in a while, I would get serious about my sandwich work, and it would be something like a ham and cheese or a turkey and cheese. It always had cheese on it, of course. Something like that, where you would actually get the mayonnaise out and the mustard out, and you'd get the tomatoes and the lettuce out, and then you'd get the lunch meat out, some type of lunch meat and cheese type of sandwich. But I'll tell you what, a lot of times it was just peanut butter, good old peanut butter and jelly. Those were kind of my go-to as far as sandwiches are concerned. And I think they were a go-to for a lot of people. Sandwiches are real simple. They're real easy to make. And for somebody who's a kid coming home and making food for himself, you can imagine that sandwich was in a big rotation on after-school snacks. Coming in at number 3 is cookies. Cookies, yes, I love cookies. Now, I have to say, a lot of these choices that I'm making here aren't necessarily healthy choices. And as I said before, I had quite a sweet tooth when I was a kid. And one of the things that would just solve that sweet tooth problem for me were cookies. Now, of course, homemade cookies were always ideal. Every once in a while, we would have homemade cookies, but for the most part, they were cookies that came out of a package. Those cookies would include things like Oreos and Fig Newtons. Would you consider Fig Newton? Is that a philosophical question? Are Fig Newtons cookies? What say you? But my favorite one were Nutter Butters. I mean, I loved Nutter Butters. I don't know why. To this day, I'm a bit of a peanut butter fan. So to this day, really anything chocolatey, peanut buttery takes my number 1 position. So Nutter Butters were my favorite. But I also remember those grandma cookies that had 2 of them in there. I liked the oatmeal raisin cookies for that one. And there were a couple others that I really enjoyed. There were the the animal crackers that had the frosting on it. And I don't know if they're still crackers if you have frosting on them. I have no idea. Are they still crackers? I think if you take a cracker and you put frosting on it, it becomes a cookie. That's my humble opinion about it. But cookies, one of my absolute all-time favorite, and still today, one of my biggest weaknesses. Number 2, top ramen. Again, as I said, I didn't have too many culinary skills as a young kid growing up, and there were some rules about if you could turn the stove on if there was nobody there. In my house, that was the case at least. But as I got older, things changed, and I did learn how to cook a few items, and top ramen was one of those items. I loved it. Now, one of my favorite top ramen items that came out during that time, you had the beef, you had the chicken, But as I recall, there was shrimp top ramen in the 80s. As I recall, I think it came out in the 80s, shrimp top ramen. It was one of my absolute number one favorites. What was your favorite top ramen? Did you eat top ramen after school? Let me know, and let me know what your favorite top ramen was. Coming in at the number one spot is leftover pizza. That was my absolute favorite afternoon snack when I was growing up. As a matter of fact, if we had pizza the night before, the only thing I could think about all day long was getting home and eating pizza. That's it. I was just thinking about going home and eating that pizza. We lived not more than 2 blocks from a pizzeria when I was a kid, kind of during this time. You come home and before you get a car, basically, before you get a car and you have that kind of independence and you're more hanging out with friends and stuff like that, where you, this time of life where you kind of come home after school and you still are connected to, your family in a way that you're not connected to them once you get a car, or once you have a friend who has a car, and then you're just dragged off to doing fun stuff like that. But during that time, there was a local pizzeria just down the street from where we lived, and we got that thing at least once a week. It was normally Fridays, so the pizza wouldn't be good during a school week. It'd be all gone by then. But every once in a while, we would get that midweek pizza. It didn't happen every week, but man, when it did, it was great. And what was even greater was that next day pizza, because there was always a couple pieces left over, and I would come home, shoot right for that fridge and get that pizza. It wasn't a box chain pizza store. It wasn't, a frozen pizza. It was the real thing. Those people at that pizzeria made handmade pizza and made with great ingredients. And I always looked forward to that. So pizza was my number one position. How did my top 5 rank up against your top 5? As always, let me know in the comments below. And please, I'd be super honored if you would subscribe to my channel. Hit the like button, hit the bell notification. If you didn't like it, hit the thumbs down button twice. It'll really let me know that you didn't like this video. And what else can you do? Oh, share it. Share it. Did I mention share it? That lets me know. I mean, that lets people know about this channel. And what else? Oh, yeah. Donate. If you want to donate some of your hard-earned cash during this time, that would be much appreciated. I'll leave a link in the description below to our Buy Me a Coffee. Thanks a lot, guys. I've been Ian C. You're watching Retro Cereal, and we will see you again for another video.